The Sidney Rhodes Show. Facebook, Sidney J. Rhodes Jr. Follow us at Sidney J. Rhodes Jr. The Sidney Rhodes Show. You're on the right road. The Sidney Rhodes Show. Can't take no prisoners tonight. No. This is Sidney Rhodes Show. Thank you for being here. Oh, we're so honored to have you here. Yeah, we're going to get into that nitty and the gritty. The Sidney Rhodes Show. It's a pleasure to have you here. Glad you connect with us on Facebook at Sidney J. Rhodes Jr. You know you can follow us on Twitter at Sidney J. Rhodes Jr. That's how it goes. 917-725-4241. What is happening? You think you just understand what's going on, and then all of a sudden somebody say, wait a minute. Hold up. Wait a minute. Wow. It might not be over. Say what? The Sidney Rhodes Show. Hillary Clinton. Maybe she won? What? Oh, we're going to have to break down the history, though. We got to get into this electoral college. We got to understand what's going on. We got, get your popcorn and your thinking caps ready. We can't just talk fluff. We got to get it. Well, if it's even possible, how would it be possible? Let's talk about it. Let's think about it. And what is it going to do to the country if we got to go through that battle? Wow. It's the Sidney Rhodes Show. It's a pleasure to be. Thank you for being here. Hey, it's a pleasure for me to be here. Hey, you never know where we could be. You could be caught in one of those computer programs and all of a sudden you're being recounted. You might be an anomaly. Maybe it is the Matrix. You never know. But we're going to find out. Sidney Rhodes Show. 917-725-4241. You can join the conversation. The Sidney Rhodes Show. Facebook, Sidney J. Rhodes Jr. Follow us at Sidney J. Rhodes Jr. The Sidney Rhodes Show. You're on the right road. The Sidney Rhodes Show. Sidney Rhodes Show. Facebook, Sidney J. Rhodes Jr. Follow us at Sidney J. Rhodes Jr. Sidney Rhodes Show. You're on the right road. Sidney Rhodes Show. The Sidney Rhodes Show, Facebook, Sidney J. Rhodes Jr. Follow us at Sidney J. Rhodes Jr. The Sidney Rhodes Show. You're on the right road. The Sidney Rhodes Show. You guys, we're live at the Sidney Rhodes Show. Let's go to the phones right away. Jump on the phones. How you doing, the Sidney Rhodes Show? You're on live. Can you hear us? You're on the Sidney Rhodes Show. All right, you got to call back. 917-725-4241. Had a call on the live line talking about Hillary Clinton. What's she going to do? What we got going on? Somebody got to tell me. Call if we lost you. Call back. Feel free to call back. Facebook, Sidney J. Rhodes Jr. Follow us at Sidney J. Rhodes Jr. The Sidney Rhodes Show. You're on the right road. The Sidney Rhodes Show. Sometimes, they used to say, be careful what you wish for. Now, if you are going to believe that, and you're going to advocate for, and you're going to put out that elections are fair and that things are just in our country, then you might be caught in a box when someone shows that there's some computer problems that somebody might have hacked. There may be some irregularities. There may be there might be something going on. Something in the milk ain't clean. Now, if you come across that, and you could actually still become the president, hey, what you gonna do? I mean, you gonna just turn around and say, hey, it was rigged. And so, therefore, I'm going to take the necessary steps. I'm going to advocate for this. I mean, that's a possibility. But we got to lay out the table because we also have our current president who made it clear this man is unfit. Now, let's go back to our Constitution. I mean, we do have certain people who put provisions who gave a certain leeway that if a person is unfit, you don't necessarily have to go that way. Now, don't worry. We gonna fill this in as the program goes on. Because what Brother Alexander Hamilton said, we got to put that in context. Why is the Electoral College even there if it's not there? I don't want to impose too much. Let's just say maybe it's there for a reason. Now, what is the reason? We got all night to talk about it. We gonna talk about it. We gonna chop it up real good. That's why you gotta have your popcorn and think caps on. The Sidney Rhodes Show. I don't want to just dump it all on you. I kind of want to walk through it, and I want to enjoy you and have you call in, and we just kind of throw it out kind of smooth, I mean, because I could just say, well, hey, if a person's unfit and there's an obvious challenge, and then we mix that with the proof of the votes actually were not counted properly, and then if you go further and just say, well, hey, I mean, I got to mix it up though, because we like to do the mental gymnastics. Let's mix it up for a second. Don't worry, it'll get clear as we go on tonight. It'll get clear. But what if you just say, even on the side of that thought, if you say, well, dang, she did get 2 million more votes. But this is Sidney Rhodes Show. I can't let you get away with that, because the 2 million more votes is not what's in contention here. That's not the problem. So we're not going to get anywhere with the Constitution just by crying that she's got 2 million more votes. That's part of Sidney Rhodes Show. We're gonna get to the nitty and the gritty. So if you thought we're going to just rah-rah about them 2 million plus votes, that's not what would make the change. But if you understand the Electoral College, if we wrap a taste on that, and you start to see, well, wait a minute, what's really the penalty if the electors don't follow the vote in their state? If they agree, or if they are bargained with, or if they are negotiated with, if somebody closes the sale. You understand? I mean, I'm talking about a closer. Holla if you hear me. 917-725-4241. There are a group of people that are selected that will go in December and select the president. If you're gonna argue, if we're going to advocate for Secretary Clinton, we gotta first come to grips with the fact that on November 8th, you don't elect no one, nobody, not a single person gets elected on November 8th. Holla if you hear me. Sidney Rhodes Show. I got to bust a bubble. Yeah, you're right. Class in session. I got to bust a bubble or two if you really want to know how you could get somewhere. I mean, if you really want to get somewhere, I can't let you think that what you did on November 8th is what you should be upset about, who did or didn't do what then. Because the Constitution is not set up for what you did on November 8th to actually elect your president. Now, I understand. I mean, I take my car to a person that knows more about cars to fix my car. I need a nice meal. I might go to somebody that I know can burn. I mean, they can lay it down, right? Okay. We all have specialties. So I encourage all of us to engage in this dialogue, because there are some constitutional scholars and lawyers, and there are people that understand history of politics. You may be able to join in on this, or it could just be somebody with some great common sense. Like, man, this don't make no doggone sense. The Sidney Rhodes Show embraces all of that. Whether you know how to fix the car or you look at the car for the first time, you are welcome on this program, because we're going to get to the nitty and the gritty. But I'm going to walk through some of this history with you, and I want to encourage you to think about it, because there is a path. And I'm not saying I'm advocating for Secretary Clinton. I know that there's an outrage, and we know that Jill Stein is out, and she's raised, man, over $1 million from what, $4 million from what I'm saying. We reported a couple of days on the program, she had just over 40,000. Just over 40,000. A couple of days later, she's over 4 million. So this is happening. Today was the deadline where it had to be filed. They made the deadline in Wisconsin. This is really like, this. So it's one thing like, well, we just going to talk, spill milk. No, it's not. No, it's not, because the Electoral College hasn't convened yet. You got 538 cats. 538 cats. Those 538 cats going to meet in December. They can vote for whoever they want. Did you know that? If they don't, what's the penalty? What, they gonna get a misdemeanor? A $300 fine? What they gonna get? They can vote for whoever they want to vote for. So in reality, and this is the Sidney Rhodes Show, come on y'all. And in reality, I'm saying that I dig it if you're upset. I dig it if you want to fight, but there's a way to do it if you understand. So I'm just going to throw out some stuff, like if you really wanted to do it, this is how you do it. But the first point is, don't believe that what happened on November 8th with the popular vote and the fact that she got 2 million plus more. Don't hang your hat on that, because that ain't going to get it. Let your brother take that. Ain't, no. That's like telling your moms, well, they all did it, so I thought I could do it too. It seemed like a logical argument. You still get your butt whooped. Did I go old school on you? Y'all don't do that no more? That's why the storm coming. Oh, Sid. No, you didn't. It's a Sidney Rhodes Show. Thank you for being here. Oh, we have a great night. 917-725-4241. No, he didn't say that. Yeah, he did. The Sidney Rhodes Show. Facebook, Sidney J. Rhodes Jr. Follow us at Sidney J. Rhodes Jr. Sidney Rhodes Show. You're on the right road. Sidney Rhodes Show. Sidney Rhodes Show. Facebook, Sidney J. Rhodes Jr. Follow us at Sidney J. Rhodes Jr. Sidney Rhodes Show. You're on the right road. Sidney Rhodes Show. Sidney Rhodes Show. Facebook, Sidney J. Rhodes Jr. Follow us at Sidney J. Rhodes Jr. Sidney Rhodes Show. You're on the right road. Sidney Rhodes Show. What's the way forward? See? What's the way forward? Thank you for being with the Sidney Rhodes Show. Appreciate you being here. You can always connect with us. Facebook, Sidney J. Rhodes Jr. Follow Twitter at Sidney J. Rhodes Jr. You can call in live right now, 917-725-4241. The way forward. Okay, so let's look at this. There's a CNN report today. Let's check it out. Green Party files for Wisconsin recount audit. All right, let's get into this. From CNN.com. Wisconsin Green Party co-chairman George Mountain said that they were seeking a reconciliation of paper records, a request that would go one step further than a simple recount, spurring, he said, an investigation into the integrity of the state's voting system. Now you got to understand, let me throw some on the side of that. You got to understand, once you start talking about the integrity of the system, there are some unintended consequences to that. You know, we got to understand, we talk about the unity of a nation. As soon as you start questioning the integrity, there's a fallout. So keep that in mind, that even though there may be a route to do this, understand that there may be consequences. And honestly, if you really dig it, some of those consequences could be quite severe. When you got cats that stop trusting the institution. Holla if you hear me. Okay. Continuing. This is a process, a first step to examine whether our electoral democracy is working, Martin said. The announcement came as Green Party's candidate Jill Stein's Thanksgiving fundraising blitz passed $5 million now. $5 million. The money is well beyond the $2 million mark the goal the Green Party initially set. And Wisconsin Party officials said that the additional money not used for the recount would be used to train Green Party candidates for local office. Sid, read that again, please. Please read that again. They were originally seeking $2 million as the goal, and Wisconsin Party officers, they said the additional money not used for the recount would be used to train the Green Party candidates for local office. Continuing, we don't know, and we think the forensic computer experts have raised serious questions. What we do know is that this was a hack-riddled election. We saw hacks into voter databases, into party databases, into individual email accounts. We know there were attempts made broadly on state voter databases, and we know that we have an election system that relies on a computer system that is wide open to hacks, Stein told CNN's John Berman Thursday. It's extremely vulnerable, quote, it's extremely vulnerable. Americans deserve to have confidence in our vote, end quote. You know Jill Stein ran for president, right? She was one of the independents. In fact, if you take the independent vote and you place it to one of the candidates, it would have made a big difference because it was very close in certain states. And you know, I grant that. You know, I mean, I grant that. Someone chatted with us a few minutes ago that reinforcing that President-elect Trump won the electoral vote. Okay. Again, we trying to dig deep into the science of what's happening. Keep in mind, the Electoral College, if we go from a point of saying Secretary Clinton won the popular vote, and you come to an understanding, but no, that is not what does it, it's the Electoral College. If you come to that understanding, that's a good step. That's a good step. But that's not your last step. With all due respect, that's not your last step. Because the electors, they're people. They're people, right? Constitutionally, they're citizens. They're cats. Might be somebody you work with. They're cats. 538. Okay? You have 435, which matches it the number of your representative in Congress. Okay? 435. All right? And then you have 100 for your senators. And you got 3 for D.C. That gives you 538. Can you dig it? So these 538 cats, they haven't put in their selection yet. Dang, Sid. Dang, Sid. I know. You can take my picture too if you want. I'm just saying. So if you go from the step of saying, no, it's not the popular, you're already enlightened, right? You already got your eyes open. You know, you take that step and say, no, it ain't gonna happen on November 8th. That ain't the end of the story. It's the electoral college. That's a good step to take. No denying that. But it's not your last step because those cats meet in December. Why do you think we're waiting right now? I mean, come on now. Come on. I'm here for you. We on the same team. I'm just saying. Dig it. Why are we going through calling the cat president-elect? Why can't you call him the president yet? Why is there this gap? There must be something going on. Whether or not they talk about it every day or not, why is he called president-elect and not president? Oh, because in January, that's when President Obama... Why? I mean, there's a reason, right? This is the most important job, quote-unquote, in the world, quote-unquote. There's something to this. It's constitutional. So what are you saying, Sid? I'm saying these cats ain't selected it yet. They haven't done it. You vote in November, these cats meet in December, and then in January, it's official that they grant the electors selection. So part 2 of that little 3, I mean, you know, it's dynamic, right? It's complex. But those 3 steps I just gave you, only part 1 has happened. Don't you know there's been cats that have died in between step 1 and 2? I mean, okay, I'm just saying. So, technically speaking, although it may be a long shot, Secretary Clinton could still get in because in December, when these 538 cats meet, or when they place their selection, when they put down their vote, their selection, if they choose to say, well, we agree with what happened here with this hacking. We see there's clear evidence that the vote should have went a different way, and even if it's not completely clear, we think there's enough doubt, and I just think that I'm going to put my vote in for Secretary Clinton. If a person chooses to do that, nobody can stop them. If you know a fact that defeats what I just said, please share it with me. There have been cats who spelled names wrong. There have been cats who voted for somebody supposedly by mistake. It's just history. That person sets down their selection, and if they choose Secretary Clinton, who can stop them? And when you tally those up, if it comes out where she has more than he does, if she has more than a 270, in January, she would be the president. That's our Constitution. It's a Sidney Rhodes Show. Sidney Rhodes Show. Facebook, Sidney J. Rhodes Jr. Follow us at Sidney J. Rhodes Jr. Sidney Rhodes Show. You're on the right road. Sidney Rhodes Show. Sidney Rhodes Show. You're on the right road. Sidney Rhodes Show. The Sidney Rhodes Show. Facebook, Sidney J. Rhodes Jr. Follow us at Sidney J. Rhodes Jr. The Sidney Rhodes Show. You're on the right road. The Sidney Rhodes Show. Sidney Rhodes Show. Thank you so much for being here. I am honored that you are joining us tonight. Thank you so much for being here. We're here every night, 9 to midnight. Appreciate you being here. You are important. That's right. That's right. Thank you. Thank you for being here. So, Brother Sid, let me ask you a question, man. What's going on? Let me ask you a question, man. Hey, so what you saying, man, is that you saying that the popular vote that we did on November 8th, that don't select the president. Right. Okay, Sid. So what are you saying could happen next? All right. So what I'm trying to say, I'm talking to myself. See, I'm talking to myself, having a nice time, talking to myself. What I'm saying, since y'all ain't calling at 917-725-4241, what I'm saying is that there is a strategy, and I'm not supporting either side. I'm not saying that President-elect Trump should not be respected as the next president and that the election isn't already what it is. I'm not saying that. And I'm not saying I'm supporting necessarily what's going down with Jill Stein and the potential recount effort. I'm just throwing out the thought and talking about the strategy, and we're having the wonderful time on the Sidney Rhodes Show with the mental gymnastics. Now, you have a choice. You do what you want to do with the information. If you choose to jump on one side or the other, or it's quite possible you can engage with me and say that you think the whole thing that Jill Stein is advocating is dangerous for, again, the institution. But I'm going to challenge that because the Constitution is the Constitution. Article 2, Section 1, Clause 2, if I'm not mistaken. Go on, Sid, with your bag. Go on, Sid. Class of the session. I said Article 2, Section 1, Clause 2 lays out the provisions for the Electoral College. It's a fact. It don't talk about what you do in the general popular, who get the popular vote. That ain't the deal. No. This go back 1700s. Constitutional Convention. Holla if you hear me. These gentlemen, because certain folks and ladies, we wasn't involved in that. Now come on now, come on now. You wasn't voting. If you a woman right now, your vote don't you ain't got no doggone vote. So don't even try it. Just like Brother Man said, you ain't got no vote. Anyway, so those individuals who did a great work. Constitutions, it's a miraculous document. But obviously, Sid thinks that, we still believe in advocating for a more perfect union. Right? A more perfect. Stuff ain't perfect yet. Now, so in the thought experiment, let me go back and talk to myself. So Sid, so you're saying that it's possible. Yes, and the reason is because if you look at what the electors can do, the power of the electors. We got a call in. Okay, I'll slow up for a second. Hello, you're on the Sidney Rhodes Show. You're coming in live and direct on the Sidney Rhodes Show.
Hey, what's going on?
All right, how you doing tonight?
Doing good. It's Mike T.
Hey, brother man, what's happening, Mr. Thomas? How you feeling today?
Doing pretty good. I hope I'm not too late.
Hey, man, I got to say, first of all, I know I owe you some calls and some contact, man. Much love to you and your family. It's been a long time, and that's on me. That's on Brother Sid, man. But it's always on the one.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
What's on your mind tonight? You live on the Sidney Rhodes Show.
No, I was just, just listening in, getting some feedback from what other people think and what their thoughts are.
So, in your mind, do you think that Secretary Clinton should go ahead and make this happen and put it out there so that she, if if there's a recount that needs to happen, that she should get behind it. If there are people that are going to push for this, that she should be right behind, or she stay out, stay silent, stay low key and let it go down. What's your perspective?
I believe that, what's mine is mine. And, if it's rightfully hers, why shouldn't she go ahead and fight for it? I mean, if we're having people protest in Chicago and Los Angeles and other cities because of who the president-elect is, then obviously that's some type of sign letting her know that she has support behind her.
So I hear you. So in that sense, if I just want to push the thought, bro. If she jumps on that, because the kids are already out on the street, now I'm a president, et cetera, et cetera. If she jumps on that, what's the danger, the fallout if it gets violent? I mean, I'm just taking it to that next level, right? I mean, if everything stays peaceful and cats just, use their First Amendment rights and they advocate for her and she gets behind it, and, that's one thing, right? But what if cats are like, oh, yeah, and they get it more emboldened, and now it's like, man, well, it's on, and, we're going to take it. And dare I say, take our country back if they start saying that while they're out in the streets.
Right, I understand what you're saying. I mean, it's a very tricky situation, a very slippery slope on you can't control other people's thoughts, their actions, and how can you relate to a nation who's obviously protesting outside of Trump Tower? How do you tell them? How do you show them that that's not necessary at this point? I really don't have a black and white answer for that question.
Let me ask you another question. So our president, we talked about this on the Sidney Rhodes Show a couple of times. Okay, so I just want to lay this out and just see what you think. Okay, bro. But all right, thank you. The president made it clear that he thought that Donald J. Trump, our president-elect currently, is, in his mind during the campaign, we heard countless times, unfit, right? Unfit. So do you think, we're talking about whether or not Secretary Clinton should, jump behind this. Do you think that the President Obama, should say, well, hey, I told him he was unfit. I think that there's a danger to the American populace, that there's a danger to the people. So therefore, he himself, seeing that he's still the president, that he has a duty to do whatever he can to get this vote possibly going towards Secretary Clinton, if there's a possibility, in order to protect the people, since he's still the president. Should he get behind the effort?
Right. I mean, he's still the president. He still has, phenomenal amounts of influence, and like I said, if there's a great chance that she could, move forward and get this thing overturned, why not use him? If he's willing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's the question. Is he willing at this point?
Well, I mean, hey, he put out the hand. He said that he's 100% committed to making sure that there's a peaceful transition. He made it clear that President-elect Donald J. Trump will be the next president. For that matter, Secretary Clinton is already, she's conceded. As far as the transition, and we may look at it from two different sides, because during the campaign, it was Brother Trump who was saying the system was rigged. So now it kind of looks kind of vindictive, right? If they come back and say, oh, it was rigged, right? So now they kind of caught in that box where it kind of looks kind of weird if they the ones talking about it being rigged. Okay, so they're giving the model of transition. This is how transition should look, right? That this is what we were trying to say you should do. We're trying to show you that this is the peaceful transition of power. That's the argument. So if President Obama comes out on the side of this recount, he comes out on the side of this. There are people who think there may be blood in the streets.
Right, and that's the risk. But the question is is just a risk, worth taking.
Yeah, well, I think you got some great.
I don't know the answer to that. It appears that the nation would jump behind Obama if he made that type of stance, and if Hillary Clinton was aggressive enough to move forward with this. It might be a risk worth taking, but then again, at what expense to the civilians, innocent people that's obviously going to exercise their right as Americans.
So, Mike T, I mean, I hear your wonderful family in the background, at least, some of your little people. I know you got a nice-sized family. So how does this affect you when you look at the next 4 years, if all this recount, let's put that aside, just currently with the pain and the fear that a lot of people feel since November 8th, how do you feel for you and your family? I know you have deep faith, and I know you have belief, but I just want to know, how do you feel about you and your babies, and what the next 4 years or after could look like because of November 8th?
It's something that I have been, extremely concerned about, and right now it's kind of too early to tell, how do you prepare, because we don't know, to me, Trump is unstable. We have no idea what he's going to be doing, and it's kind of interesting because I've been trying to keep up with, who he's, appointing and what fashion and how he's doing that. So for me, it's a concern, financially, how is this going to affect my family? Educationally, how is that going to affect my family? And what can I do to prepare for that? Those are the questions that I have been asking myself, ever since, we found out that Trump was elected as president. I'm concerned about, from a security standpoint, who, you have these extremists that, feel that they have a bigger platform now, and are they going to try to, use that?
Excellent points. And we definitely appreciate Mike T. Excellent points. Very good, sir. We appreciate your thoughts on that. Mike T's call dropped, but I got to tell you, give it up for Mike T. I mean, he was dropping some nice perspective. Give it up for. So, Mike T, you need to know you got, you feel free to call the Sidney Rhodes Show anytime. Great call. What's on your mind? 917-725-4241. Should Secretary Clinton fight this? Maybe should President Obama get behind it? Maybe your perspective is that stuff sounds crazy. That stuff sounds dangerous. Need to respect the President-elect Trump is going to be the next president. Y'all need to stop talking that talk because it's a dangerous talk. Maybe that's your perspective. You got a home here at the Sidney Rhodes Show. You can voice your perspective with respect. We're going to get down to the nitty gritty. Hey, get your popcorn thing caps ready. Sidney Rhodes Show. Thanks for being here. 917-725-4241. Again, we thank Mike T for his great thoughts. Sidney Rhodes Show, Facebook, Sidney J. Rhodes Jr. Follow us at Sidney J. Rhodes Jr. Sidney Rhodes Show, you're on the right road. Sidney Rhodes Show.
I can't get diamonds so pale, and I'm gonna take you traveling the world. But I can love you, yeah, I'm gonna love you. I'll give you all of what I've got, the fancy finds, baby, I have not. Just gonna love you, yeah, I'm gonna love you. I'm gonna love you, baby, cross my heart and hope to die. Golden trinkets, mobile phone, expensive shoes, you can get your own. Just gonna love you, yeah, I'm gonna love you. Just gonna love you, yeah, I'm gonna love you. I'm gonna love you, babe, cross my heart and hope to die.
Sidney Rhodes Show, Facebook, Sidney J. Rhodes Jr. Follow us at Sidney J. Rhodes Jr. Sidney Rhodes Show, you're on the right road. Sidney Rhodes Show. Sidney Rhodes Show. Facebook, Sidney J. Rhodes Jr. Follow us at Sidney J. Rhodes Jr. Sidney Rhodes Show. You're on the right road. Sidney Rhodes Show. All right. Going into hour number 2. Thank you so much for being here, Sidney Rhodes Show. Honored that you would spend some time with us. Got your popcorn and thinking caps on. Popcorn ready, thinking caps on. Popcorn ready, thinking caps on. You're on the right road, Sidney Rhodes Show. Appreciate you being here. 917-725-4241. Of course, you can connect with us. Facebook, Sidney J. Rhodes Jr. Also, feel free to follow at Sidney J. Rhodes Jr. You can also, did you know we're on iTunes now? Ain't that a trip? Brother man on iTunes. Now don't be looking for no A and B tunes. You gotta, get the I. That's right, iTunes. You can go to your iTunes, hook up, and go in there in that little search box and put in the Sidney Rhodes Show, and you'll have a feed from the shows on demand anytime for free. For the free 99. For the free 99. What you talking about? I'm saying free. Getting that knowledge on, share it with your family, friends, loved ones. We're going to stay on the right road, Sidney Rhodes Show. So now, let's catch you up to where we're at here. So we were talking about the possibility here, those steps. And we basically encapsulated into 3 steps, right? We said November 8th, we got the general election. And then we move towards where the electors are going to go ahead in December, the 538 cats, right? Electoral College. Then in January, it becomes final. So by Constitution, it is possible. So, it's one thing when you talk about things and it's just like totally theoretical. Ain't no way it can happen. That's not true. No, it could happen. I mean, this recount effort could happen. Why? Because you're connecting the recount to the battle over the electors, right? So and honestly, from that perspective, keep it in mind, from my understanding, there is no federal law. Wait a minute, Sid. Wait a minute. You got to let them know, class in session. There's no federal law that prohibits the electors from electing whoever they want. So these 538 people could go in December and say, we believe, for whatever reason, and they select Hillary Clinton. At least more than 270. You get 270, she's good. I mean, that's it. That's it. Because the November 8th is not what selects the president. We cool with that, right? I mean, we got to just get that out of our mind. But you got to get that out your mind so that we not caught up over those 2 million extra votes from the popular vote. But you need to convince these 538 people. And you don't have to convince all of them because she's already going to get some of them. Right? I mean, that's already, well, presumably, right? Because even they could change. Ha, 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 ha. Sidney Rhodes Show. So you could say, oh, well, she only need about 40 some odd more. She only need about 40 more people to change their vote. Okay, well, what if President-elect Donald J. Trump talked to some of the other ones that she had, and they go in and get these 40 some odd people to change theirs, right? And he went and got 40 of hers to change theirs. And boom, now she right back where she was. See, that's the complexity that people don't want to expound upon because it threatens the idea of what's going on in the country. But you have to have, one thing is to have the idea of what's going on. It's another thing to deal with the reality. And a lot of people don't want to deal with the reality. They just want to be in this other space. But that's not where you want to be, right? You want to be with the truth. It's the Sidney Rhodes Show. We got a caller. You're live on the Sidney Rhodes Show. You're live.
Hey, Sid, it's Mike. Sorry about that. I got disconnected.
Hey, it's all right. I had already given you props for being such a great caller, man. And I see you got the card dropped, so we really appreciate your card. But if you got something else, go ahead and lay it on us.
No, I just would like to, finish my thought in regards to...
Yes, sir.
Going back to that, it's a situation where, I really fear for the security of my children. We have, all these different incidents that happen with the police, and now we have these extremists that believe that they have a bigger platform now that Trump has been elected. So there's that. And then as it relates to how is this going to affect my family financially with the different decisions he's going to make. But most importantly, educationally, what is his plans for the educational sector? What is he going to try to take away to save money, or, because he's business minded. He's not really, thinking for the middle class, which is such a huge, huge sector of the United States. But
Now, okay, so obviously, I talk all the time about, I want people to call and voice their thoughts, and with respect, right? With respect, I want to know before I say some things or ask you some different questions. I want to know, how strongly you feel in what you just said, because there's some things I think about, that came to mind, but I don't want to make you feel like you have to be defensive or that I'm attacking you. So I just want to know, if we can bounce some ideas around or not, because I don't want you to feel like I'm attacking you because there's some things you said that I kind of want to address.
No, go ahead.
Okay, well, with respect, so when we talk about the middle class, okay, so let if you don't mind, I'll use the term working class, middle class. But if we look at the numbers, he actually did great with that. I mean, that was the whole him wearing the ball cap, that was the whole him talking about the air conditioners, him talking about the plant moving out of Indiana or Kentucky or, or this place or that place, or, him talking about the layoffs, him talking about the working class person in rural America that had been overlooked. So although for a long time, as we know, the Democratic Party supposedly was for the working class, but it seemed like there was some kind of a breakdown where Brother Trump was coming in there and he was talking to that person and he was talking about getting those jobs back and he was talking about no NAFTA and no TPP and all of that, So there's a counter argument. Maybe he was the one who actually was after the middle class, and he was the one who was talking about, and I'm saying talking about, I mean, we can argue about whether, we're really going to see the fruit of that. But he was the one, you look at his rallies, man, 15, 20,000 people, and they weren't all dressed in no suit and ties.
Right. Well, I guess if I was to be a little bit more specific, we were talking about people whose, tax bracket is anywhere between $15,000 and $50,000.
Okay.
I know that's kind of, putting a real tight bracket around that. But, we have to look at if you was to group a certain amount of people where if Medicaid is affected, if, like I said, like this whole law that passed, if you're not making $50,000, then you're guaranteed overtime, which is huge for so many people that puts in 60 and 50 hours a week but don't get overtime and only making $28,000 a year. I'm talking about people that's affected by those type of decisions. How is that going to look for those people?
So, okay, and again, we're putting the mental gymnastics on, right? I mean, this is a conversation so that we can think about things. It's not necessarily me saying that I advocate for President-elect Donald J. Trump. I'm just throwing out the perspective. So the counter argument, as I understand it, though, is that the country is in so much debt, trillions and trillions of dollars, that those programs, without a person that understands business, without a person that understands how to grow the country, those programs wouldn't make it anyways. That's the argument. As one of the arguments, from my understanding, that if you are looking always to the global and not looking at the nation, and that's part of the nationalism argument. Okay, I'm just feeding the argument, right? I'm feeding the argument. Okay, that you got a person who's saying, look, we have to be able to focus on the economy. We have to be able to focus on the safety, security of this land, which is the whole border argument, etc., that you focus on this land and you make this land supposedly great again, quote unquote, and part of that is the economics. That's why you're repatriating the dollars, bringing all that money back into the country. That's why you are securing the border so that people can have the jobs again. That's why you're not letting the plants move. That's why you're getting better trade deals. So all of these things that he's saying, race aside, and even though race is a major part too, don't get me wrong, but race aside, that supposedly that's the argument, that you got a person who's saying that they're going to stop the bleeding of the country economically. They're going to stop the bleeding, and then they're going to shoot it and inject it with good programs, cut down the regulations. I mean, I'm just kicking to you his argument, right? This is the argument. Cut down the taxes so that the companies then feel like, hey, I'll stay in the country, I'll produce in the country, lower the tax burden, lower the regulations, and then the result of that is the people would then have jobs again.
It sounds nice.
Well, he got elected with it, right? I mean, it sounds so good that he got elected with it. In fact, the argument, Mike T, the argument is so real to so many people that, like we talked about, they're on this program. That's why that there are people who in like Macomb County in Michigan. That's why there are people in Pennsylvania. That's why there are people in Ohio who voted for President Obama twice. Not only the Democratic Party, but they voted for the first African American president ever. But yet, that argument that Brother Trump was using was so tough. One of the things about it was so tough that they not only voted for a person of a different party, but they voted for an entirely different type of person. And I mean that with all respect. Okay, and I know I'm just talking racially now. I'm saying they voted for a black man. I mean, that's deep.
Right.
So if Sister Clinton would have been kicking the Willy Bobo so tough, like he was kicking, I mean, obviously there's a problem there because it seemed like they would at least stay with the party. If Caucasian females, for instance, if they voted in this block I'm talking about, this block of people that changed their vote, if those Caucasian females voted for President Obama, wouldn't you think that they would vote for Secretary Clinton? Same program, same legacy, even a person that they might even identify with a little better. And I know I'm being stereotypical. I know that there's a racist ting to that, from a different perspective. I understand that, but for the sake of the argument, I think that we're grown enough to make the argument that it would seem like if a Caucasian woman in America who's having it tough, if she would vote for President Obama twice, it seems like Secretary Clinton would be a likely champion to continue to keep her same vote. It would just seem that way.
I can agree with that.
So what happened? So what happened? And so maybe what Brother Trump is saying, maybe if he does it, those types of things. I ain't talking about the racial thing. I'm talking about the sexist thing. I'm not talking about the other stuff. I'm just saying the economy, the problem you're asking about as far as the jobs and the care for people that are of lower income. If he does what he says, maybe it could work.
Well, again, this is all based on theory, and I understand your point too. Your point being that this is his outline. This is his foundation that he's throwing out there, and so based on that, you throw the dice in and you get what you get. But what I'm saying, for me, it's a concern because it appears that when you're running for something, the first group of people that you want to appease to or you want to get on your side is the lower middle class group of people. But it also seems that they get the short end of the stick as well. And
again, I'm just throwing a perspective. I'm not claiming that President-elect Donald J. Trump is going to do any of that stuff. I mean, you know, I just appreciate the mental gymnastics. I appreciate being able to understand a person's point, whether or not I agree with it or not. I try to take the time to at least understand where they're coming from. You know, I mean, so that's just a part of how I get down, right? Just just try to understand the different arguments, and you know that, and you do the same thing. So I appreciate. That's why I've always loved our conversations. You know, looking at both sides of the equation. So I do appreciate your concern about your babies, and maybe, man, maybe it's gonna come down to just like you're gonna have to depend on yourself. Maybe that's what it's gonna come down to. That maybe neither one of them cats really was going to do what the real deal was going to need to be done anyway. I mean, maybe it's going to come down to you and yours linking up with other cats that's same mind and making it happen like that. Maybe that's the deal.
Absolutely.
Well, I appreciate your call. Anything else you want to throw at us?
No, sir. That was it.
Man, I appreciate your call. It's great call, great perspectives. Mike T, feel free to call back anytime, brother. We really appreciate your call.
All right, man. Take care.
All right. Sidney Rhodes Show, 917-725-4241. Mike T, great thoughts. Hey, I mean, you know, you really look at it, and a person with family, they have a different perspective, right? You know, and they've got children, and they are really concerned. Now, again, his talk was about the economics of it all, right? So, I mean, you know, we weren't talking about the sexist language or the racist language we agree those things and the perspectives of who gets selected and who he's selecting, because he also mentioned that, you know, all those things weigh in. We understand that this is a very complex issue, and you have to look at all of these things as to whether or not you're going to vote or whether you're going to support somebody, or, you know, so all that weighs in. Don't get me wrong, Sidney Rhodes Show, I'm not trying to nullify any of those perspectives, because they all make sense and they all should weigh in. But if you're just speaking about the economic argument, that was a big selling point that he had, you know, because he is saying, from an outside perspective, I know how to make an organization / company work. I know how to make something profitable, and the country needs a person that can make it profitable, that can get the jobs, that can get the better deals, that can focus on nation first. Just that argument right there. I'm just saying that part of the argument, obviously, with over 60 million people supporting it, obviously it resonated with a whole lot of people. And with people that have voted for President Obama twice and then ended up voting for Donald J. Trump in 2016, it resonated with a lot of people. So Mike T's concern is definitely real, and we cannot take our eye off the ball. And maybe, like the Sidney Rhodes Show says, you might have to just take it on yourself and make sure it happens for you and yours. Hey, much love. Sidney Rhodes Show. Join the conversation, 917-725-4241. Facebook, Sidney J. Rhodes Jr. Twitter, at Sidney J. Rhodes Jr. Brought to you by Increased Solutions, LLC. Developing yourself, your company, your organization. You're on the right road. Sidney Rhodes Show. The Sidney Rhodes Show. Facebook, Sidney J. Rhodes Jr. Follow us at Sidney J. Rhodes Jr. Sidney Rhodes Show. You're on the right road. Sidney Rhodes Show. The Sidney Rhodes Show, Facebook, Sidney J. Rhodes Jr. Follow us at Sidney J. Rhodes Jr. The Sidney Rhodes Show, you're on the right road. The Sidney Rhodes Show. Sidney Rhodes Show, Facebook, Sidney J. Rhodes Jr. Follow us at Sidney J. Rhodes Jr. Sidney Rhodes Show, you're on the right road. Sidney Rhodes Show. Thank you for joining us here at the Sidney Rhodes Show. Yeah, so, there is a way. I mean, it is possible that if you really, advocating for Secretary Clinton and you really think that it's a disaster what happened on November 8th and you really think it's terrible and unsafe for the country, therefore the world, I mean, there is actually a path. I mean, there really is a way constitutionally that this could be changed. It's not a pipe dream. It's a long shot, but constitutionally it actually is available. There's a lot of funny things when you really look at the real deal, like we do on the Sidney Rhodes Show, get down to the nitty and the gritty. Don't you know that there was a time when the Electoral College, because remember now, this go back to the 1700s. I mean, this is Constitutional Convention we talked about, right? So, there was a time every elector had 2 votes. See, right now, each of the 538 people have 1 vote. Dig? But back in the day, they had 2 votes. And so you would vote for the 2 cats. And whoever would get the most votes would be your president. And whoever got the second amount of votes would be the vice president. Now, that's my understanding. If it's not correct, feel free to lay out the truth. But that's my understanding. Talk on it, Sid. So back in the day, you had a situation where people were getting supposedly elected by the Electoral College, that is, not by your popular vote. Keep it in mind. Keep it in mind, not your popular. But the Electoral College, the electors had selected the person who got the most amount of votes became president, and the person who got the second amount became vice president. Now, how you feel about that? How you feel about that? Because look at what we got now. The cats now select themselves the vice president. We don't necessarily vote directly. Holla if you hear me. So when people talk about that selection of the vice president is an enormous responsibility, and this is one of my major decisions, my first major decision, back in the day, you didn't have that. You had at least the electors who had to vote for this guy. And I say guy because there wasn't no ladies. Y'all understand? You know that wasn't gonna happen. Wasn't no brothers either, and a bunch of other folks. It wasn't there. So just keep the history straight. But ain't that deep? I mean, now if Joe Blow is running and Joe Blow needs Ohio, well, try to get the governor of Ohio or try to get LeBron to run with you. Because if LeBron run with you, so whether or not, brother man, it would be good for the nation is no. Just make sure you help me get elected. But back in the day, you had to be in the running where you yourself could be president, and you had to get the second most amount of votes, which means you a diesel cat, presumably, right? I mean, you someone who the people were like, no, this dude, he really could be the man. Now, I mean, look at what you got. Brother man, Tim Kaine was running. Would you have voted for him to be your president? But if something happened to Secretary Clinton, he would have been. Think about that. Demos. I'm talking about democracy, y'all. Or is it constitutional republic? Is it democracy that if right now, and with all due respect, I'm not trying to wish nothing ill on nobody, okay? But we just talking about how it works. If something were to happen, the president-elect, Mike Pence is the president. Did you vote for Mike Pence directly? Is that the guy you would have voted for? I mean, Cass was voting for Trump with or without Pence. You understand? I mean, Cass was voting for John McCain whether or not he had Sarah Palin. Now, I'm saying it helped him in some ways, but some people feel like it hurt him to have Sarah Palin. But the point is that person can become president and never received a direct vote. You could say when you were in the doggone booth, you voted for the team. I understand, but I'm just keeping the perspective there. There was a time when that person had to actually get voted for. So with the Electoral College, there's a power there. It's a constitutional responsibility. There's a power. It ain't in our ballot. It's not. Ladies and gentlemen, it's just not. So much for the pipe dream that what you do on election day is the end all be all. I'm not telling you not to vote, but I'm just saying the reality is Constitution, you ain't and I ain't elected nobody on November 8th. It don't work that way. So if Secretary Clinton is to have an opportunity, one path, can you dig it? One path is if they prove, which Jill Stein she got the extra money now, she raised the millions. If they prove in these states, right, in Wisconsin and Philadelphia, and Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, and Michigan, if they prove that there was irregularities and there was some hacking going on and there was some computer glitches that would have shifted the votes and actually she had more, well now there's a connection now between, okay, well then therefore now if she wins the popular vote in those states, so forget about the 2 million, California and all that, because California is 55 votes, electoral votes, that's California's 55, right? Just the math of it all. So I mean that's already going to happen. Okay, that's already going to happen. But if she's able to get more of the popular vote in those particular states, now she can pick up the, 40 some odd, if nothing else changes, maybe she can pick up and get closer and closer and closer. And if that happens, the electors of the Electoral College might find it easier to vote with the popular vote in those states. But there's a caveat. They still don't have to by federal law. They vote for who they want in December. So that's why there's hope for people who want to say, well, this is unfit, he's unfit, and therefore there's another reason why we should impress upon the Electoral College to change their vote. That's an argument. The other argument is if you prove that actually she had more of a popular vote because there was some hacking going on, if you can prove that, then there's another road that you can take. But you still are trying to make a case to individuals. There's 538 of them. You try to make a case to them before December to get them to change their vote. And if you do that and you get over 270, Secretary Clinton will be the next president of the United States. For better or worse, there are consequences to this type of stuff, but that's the argument. Sidney Rhodes Show, you can join us 917-725-4241. Sidney Rhodes Show, Facebook, Sidney J. Rhodes Jr. Follow us at Sidney J. Rhodes Jr. Sidney Rhodes Show, you're on the right road. Sidney Rhodes Show. Sidney Rhodes Show. Facebook, Sidney J. Rhodes Jr. Follow us at Sidney J. Rhodes Jr. Sidney Rhodes Show. You're on the right road. Sidney Rhodes Show. Sidney Rhodes Show. Facebook, Sidney J. Rhodes Jr. Follow us at Sidney J. Rhodes Jr. Sidney Rhodes Show. You're on the right road. Sidney Rhodes Show. All right. You can join us live, 917-725-4241, 917-725-4241. Back to that CNN article. Let's go on for a little further with Jill Stein's effort here. Like I say, talking about raising millions. They've raised millions of dollars in a couple of days. Hey, so okay. CNN.com. Late Friday afternoon, the Wisconsin Election Board said it had received the petition from Stein and the Green Party and is preparing to move forward with a statewide recount of the votes. Quote, "We have assembled an internal team to direct the recount. We have been in close consultation with our county clerk partners and have arranged for legal representation by the Wisconsin Department of Justice." Wisconsin, that's end quote. Wisconsin Elections Board Administrator Michael Haas has said, quote, "We plan to hold a teleconference meeting for county clerks next week and anticipate the recount will begin late in the week after the Stein campaign has paid the recount fee, which we are still calculating," end quote. So the plan is in motion. Wisconsin, she raised the money. They drop off the ducats. Cats getting their attorneys ready. I mean, it's really happening. What do you want me to say? I mean, okay. Like I said, there's unintended consequences here to the peaceful transition of power. I mean, I know that it gets extreme, but there's a reason why. Like I said, is President Obama playing chess or checkers? I mean, there is something to the peaceful transition of power, and maybe cats realize that if you let this stuff get talked about too much, or maybe it gets exposed, or maybe people start believing in Santa Claus, they don't believe in Santa Claus anymore. Maybe they like, well, skip this stuff. I ain't gonna be good no more. If I can't get no gift, I ain't gonna be good. It's hard to say. I mean, it's hard to say, but there are repercussions. Like we were talking about earlier. I mean, cats out in the street, your baby's out in the street. Hey, and then they start hearing, well, for real, they really are recounting? I mean, 2000 election ain't that far away, I mean, that came down to one state and them Chads. And that got ugly. That was Supreme Court. You remember that? Wow. And a lot of people felt like Gore shouldn't have even conceded when he did. They're like, oh, no, hang on, man. Hang on, keep fighting this. Man, it gets deep. Continuing with the article. Hacking experts alerted the Clinton campaign earlier this week it was possible. Dig that. Do it again, Sid. CNN.com. Hacking experts alerted the Clinton campaign earlier this week that it was possible, based on voter low turnouts in some counties with electronic voting, that voting systems might have been hacked. But nobody has presented any evidence yet that they were tampered with. Even if Stein and others succeed in winning recounts in Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania, it's unclear that would be enough to swing the election from Trump to Hillary Clinton, with Trump holding leads as big as more than 60,000 votes in Pennsylvania. When Florida officials launched their recount in 2000, the margin was just 537 votes. So the deal is that maybe they will find that there's some junk in the game. They might find that, but the argument is, in places like Pennsylvania, it's 60,000 votes, so they might find out, well, yeah, there was about 30 or 40,000 that was on the flim flam, but he still would win. Maybe. Can you dig it? Keeping in mind, the electors of the Electoral College don't necessarily have to vote either way. They can go the way they want to go. Some states say you got to go with the popular vote. Some states don't say nothing. But my understanding is federal law is not there at all anyway. And my understanding is, feel free to correct me, 917-725-4241. My understanding is no one has ever been prosecuted by not going the way of the popular vote. No elector. I mean, they even got classification for these cats. It's called a faithless elector. Faithless. I mean, there's a classification. Cats who just don't vote the way that you thought they was going to vote. It's happened before. And they've never been prosecuted. So dig what I'm saying about just the belief that like everything's cool. No, cats don't have to do it that way. Cats can be like, nope, I think that the recount is justified. I think that cats unfit. I think whoop, 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 whoop. And they can go in December and say, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to vote for Secretary Clinton. I don't care what they said in Texas. I don't care what they said in Louisiana. I'm going to vote for who I want to vote for. They could do that. And if she get 270, she's the president. Sidney Rhodes Show. The Sidney Rhodes Show. Facebook, Sidney J. Rhodes Jr. Follow us at Sidney J. Rhodes Jr. The Sidney Rhodes Show. You're on the right road. Sidney Rhodes Show. So let's wrap up that CNN article. Sidney Rhodes Show. You can join our conversation 917-725-4241. So Kellyanne Conway, she big part of President-elect Donald J. Trump's campaign, past pollster. So she says clearly, hey, quote unquote, look who can't accept the election results. Sore losers is the bottom line, right? I mean, hey, you can't have it both ways. So, y'all are talking about nothing was rigged, and now all of a sudden, so she puts that tweet out on Thursday. Look who can't accept the election results. Let's check out this WND.com. This gentleman here, Jerome Corsi, he's got a Harvard PhD from Harvard, staff writer for WND, best-selling author of The Abomination and Unfit for Command. Let's check his article out. There's a couple things in here that are a little interesting for us. Okay, so let's move towards, we talked about Wisconsin. So they made the deadline in Wisconsin. She filed it. All right. The deadlines for filing for recounts in Michigan and Pennsylvania, however, are next week. Dun, dun, dun. So if you're living in Michigan and Pennsylvania, you'll be like, dang, Sid was talking about this. Stuff is really happening. I mean, she's already raised $5 million. Cass is getting behind this. Dun, dun, dun. In Michigan, the state on Saturday certified that Trump won by 10,704 votes. Stop right there. So in Pennsylvania, we were talking 60,000. But in good old Michigan, it's only 10,704. That ain't a lot. When you talk about a state that normally goes a certain way, that people thought they had a wall. So Michigan, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Cass thought they were going to be able to do a little something. But these numbers are close enough, you dig? The numbers are close enough now where, whoa, like I'm telling you. Hey. So if people really get behind this, you could have some fallout. Continue with the article. While Stein says her initial fundraising goal of $2.5 million, her campaign website now says she's trying to raise a total of $7 million. Now we know from the other report she's already got $7 million to cover the fees for filing costs, attorneys, and statewide recount observers. And we also know that she said that the extra money is going to go to the Green Party that she represents. Holla if you hear me. Okay, did you know this? Stein says that this is not being done, this recount effort, is not being done to benefit one candidate at the expense of another, she said in a PBS NewsHour interview on Thursday, as in yesterday. However, she says, this is being done because Americans, come out of this election not happy campers. So she wants to make sure that they're happy campers. Look, this is serious stuff, okay? I mean, I know you got a smile on my face, but trust me, it's serious stuff. It's so serious because that's why when even the thought of this came up about Donald Trump saying, hey, we're going to wait and see how this go down because the system is rigged. When he said that in the third debate, and Cash was like, whoa, don't say it, shouldn't have said it. Remember, I mean, wasn't it Secretary Clinton called his remarks horrifying? Wasn't that, I mean, just the fact that you would even put out there, that you even that you would even presume in any respect or broadcast to the American public that there may be something fishy about the system. Doggone it, Sidney Rhodes Show. Like I said, we push for a more perfect union. You can't tell no doggone person that understands the history of what's been going on in this place that stuff is all perfect. And I ain't going for that. Descendant of kings and queens and slaves. You know how I said that? See how I said that? Kings and queens and slaves. Can't tell me everything perfect and get away with it. Not me. There it is. I know the deal. But that doesn't mean that we push for a more perfect, we push to make it better. So when he was like, hey, it's rigged, I wasn't so horrified. I wasn't so horrified. Because he's calculating. He's calculating. He was putting himself in a position to be able to challenge, whereas by her putting the other spin on it, thinking that she was ahead and going to win, this is just one perspective. If you don't agree, it's fine. You can chat with me. Call up live, 917-725-4241. We can have a respectful dialogue. It's all good. We can talk about it. But she takes the other perspective, thinking she's ahead, and now you're going to sound like a hypocrite challenging the system. How you going to be horrified that somebody puts it out there that maybe something is not just? Santa Claus is not real. I'm not following no cat, Nick, and reindeers and elves. I'm not doing it. But I will work to make something better. But I ain't believing in the everything is all good and there's nothing wrong and there's no way something could be awry. How can you even say that? When babies die on the street every day over nonsense. Come on, y'all. I mean, you know the deal. So keep it 100. And that's why it's possible. And what I'm presenting is, constitutionally, they even understood. But now let's talk about it from a different perspective. Storm coming, Sid. Let's talk about it from a different perspective, okay? Now, if you look at in 1700s, why weren't the average person, and again, we said it a couple times already tonight. I wasn't allowed to vote, and if you're a woman, you weren't allowed to vote, and some other votes, you forget about it. It ain't happening. You could do some work, but you ain't doing no voting. Forget about that. Now we keep that 100. Moving on. But why weren't the other cats around the country, citizens, so-called, citizens, why weren't they allowed to put in a popular vote and therefore that would be the president? Why were they elected? Okay, so you got to look at the history. Some people will give a logistical argument, say, well, there was no way that, the 13 colonies, there's no way that you would have known enough information if you're in a different state. There's no way you didn't have instant messaging. You didn't have Facebook and Twitter. You didn't have Instagram. You didn't have technology. You didn't have TV. So we the only ones here who know these gentlemen. So we know what's best, who should be the president. Y'all out there, you're citizens, but you don't really know these dudes. We know the dudes, so we gonna make sure that we have a way to vote for the dudes who are best to lead the country. Y'all don't really know. Y'all don't really know what's best. We know what's best. Dang, Sid. It's a Sidney Rhodes Show. That's all I can say. It's a Sidney Rhodes Show. That's all I can say. The Sidney Rhodes Show. Facebook, Sidney J. Rhodes Jr. Follow us at Sidney J. Rhodes Jr. The Sidney Rhodes Show. You're on the right road. The Sidney Rhodes Show. Sidney Rhodes Show. Facebook, Sidney J. Rhodes Jr. Follow us at Sidney J. Rhodes Jr. Sidney Rhodes Show. You're on the right road. Sidney Rhodes Show. Sidney Rhodes Show. Facebook, Sidney J. Rhodes Jr. Follow us at Sidney J. Rhodes Jr. The Sidney Rhodes Show. You're on the right road. The Sidney Rhodes Show. So the Atlantic has a nice article that gives us some good perspective. Sidney Rhodes Show. We appreciate you being here. We hope that you got your popcorn ready caps on. You can join our conversation live, 917-725-4241. Let's jump right back into this. So The Atlantic gave us an article here. We take a couple glances at that right quick. It kind of gets us back to that history of the Electoral College. Again, if you're going to take the road, you're going to take the route. Know what's happening. All right. College of Charleston political science professor Claire Wolford explained to me that the founding fathers, this is according to the article, the founding fathers were actually quite afraid of direct democracy. They put the Electoral College in place as a fail-safe to protect the American presidency from a candidate who's popular but unfit for office. Several features of our government are designed to filter what the parenthetically constitutional framers saw might be the irrationality and emotion of the populace, including the Electoral College, she said. So you could argue that the election of Trump is just an instance in which a demagogue has somehow managed to sway an easily misled public. Warford said there is no explicit federal or constitutional ban on electors seeking candidates as they wish, even if it means departing from the popular vote of the state. College of Charleston political science professor Claire Wolford. What do you think? Man, it's what you've been saying all night. I'm trying to tell you. It's constitutional. It wasn't designed to trust you and I and what we do on November 8th. There's a quote-unquote fail-safe. There's other words you could use for it, like some old okey-doke. You could use that word, too. I mean, there's some other thing you could hold that phrase. You could use some other stuff. But you could just say, nicely and with respect, they ain't trust us, man. So they put stuff in there as a fail-safe so that a cat couldn't just become elected president who shouldn't have won because he might have put the okie doke on the populace. He had some Kool-Aid, they drank it, and now he's going to be president. No, we had to put something in there to stop that. So the argument that people are making is, well, dog, we just following the Constitution. The framers, this is what they talked about. They talked about somebody that used to be on TV that knew how to talk, and now wants to become president, and then put the dupe on us, and and this is exactly what we're supposed to do, stand up against that. This is why we have that. Oh, I didn't even know we had that kind of fail-safe. Oh, we do? Oh, well then shucks, this really could happen. Oh, so then let's do it. But that's not what President Obama has said. That's not what Secretary Clinton has. They've said there's a peaceful transition of power. Respect what the voters have said. Well, wait a minute, man. Let me talk about them voters again. Tell me about that Electoral College. And according to this, and according to our reading of history, let's go back to her quote, because I done said it my way. Let's just say it her way. Maybe that'll help some people hear it a little differently. Let's hear it a little differently. So you could argue that the election of Trump is just an instance in which a demagogue has somehow managed to sway an easily misled public. She continues, there is no explicit federal or constitutional ban on electors, those 538 people we're talking about, selecting candidates as they wish, even if it means departing from the popular vote of the state. They vote for who they want to vote for. Feel me? Now, our deeper argument on the Sidney Rhodes Show is, but maybe you leave the way it is because maybe this could be causing more problems to the country. And maybe that's why it needs to just be keep Santa Claus in place, keep people thinking that what they did on November 8th is what's up. And since we are already getting the understanding of President-elect Donald J. Trump, respect that man, respect the office, and roll with it. But then you keep hearing cats say, but wait a minute. How do you teach the babies to stand up for what they believe in if you punk out so quick? And if you don't like the word punk, I don't mean any disrespect. But if you do that so quick, then I mean, what's the point? What's the point? You rah, 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 rah. We're going to teach so you can advocate for what you believe in. We're going to teach so you can see what to do to help yourself. We're going to teach so you can protect be patriotic. Man, you going to ask me to give my life in Afghanistan? You going to ask me to give my life in Somalia? You going to ask me to give my life around the world? Now in Syria? You going to ask me to give my life in here and there? And I got to go to Aleppo and give my life? But I can't advocate for, hey, all I got to do is change a few people's minds in Electoral College and we can get a new president? We only got a few people we got to negotiate with? I mean, you know, I know some cats that they can sell some stuff. They can sell some stuff. That's all you need. That's serious business. But on the Sidney Rhodes Show, we look at all the perspectives. And maybe that's not the way to go. Maybe that's not a safe route. Maybe that's not a productive route. And maybe President-elect Donald J. Trump would be a better president than Secretary Clinton anyways. That's definitely an argument. There are 60 plus million people that believe that. So who are you to say that they're not going to be right? Because you ain't got that many more. Oh, you do have 2 million more. Dang. Oh, that's right. Sidney Rhodes Show. Dang. Sidney Rhodes Show, Facebook, Sidney J. Rhodes Jr. Follow us at Sidney J. Rhodes Jr. Sidney Rhodes Show. You're on the right road. Sidney Rhodes Show. Sidney Rhodes Show, Facebook, Sidney J. Rhodes Jr. Follow us at Sidney J. Rhodes Jr. Sidney Rhodes Show, you're on the right road. Sidney Rhodes Show. Yeah, we're so happy to have you here, Sidney Rhodes Show. We're in our final hour. Let's get into that Atlantic article a little bit more. So, an elector, according to the article, elector who votes. Now, again, this is given both sides. Okay, I mean, we're trying to give separate, different perspectives. Sidney Rhodes Show. Elector who votes other than their prescribed, that then as prescribed by their state's popular vote, is called a faithless elector. Some states impose a penalty for this action, but the fines are relatively light, at approximately $500 to $1,000. However, it's possible for states to block an upset by replacing faithless electors with alternatives who are willing to fall in line. So even if the Hamilton electors are willing to get 270 electors on board, their efforts could still be blocked. So there's another twist, yet another twist. Continuing in the article, another challenge, Warford points out, would be convincing the candidate who the faithless electors select to accept the appointment. There's another wrinkle. The practical and political problems will be difficult to overcome, she said. There will be major legal challenges, which would consume a great deal of time, as well as major questions about the candidate's legitimacy as president. Those barriers are significant. An electoral college revolt would certainly lead the nation into uncharted waters, as Peter Bernhardt has described. So even in this article here, you see that it just keeps unraveling. I mean, deeper and deeper and deeper as you go down. But this is how the system was designed. And let's keep in mind, that's why even Jill Stein, etc., they talk about they're trying to raise millions, and she's over 5 million right now, according to reports, to also have not just the passion to fight, but also the lawyers to fight. Because you're getting into some deep constitutional process and law, and then, according to this article, you would need Secretary Clinton to get on board, which again, like we're saying, would be complicated by the fact that when she thought she was ahead, and I'm not speaking for her entire thought process, but when she thought she was ahead, remember, she was horrified at the thought of not accepting the results or looking at the results as being somehow tainted. Because remember, it somehow became, foolproof. The design just perfect. Even though in 2000 we saw what happened with Bush and Gore in Florida, but somehow in the third debate, it was just terrible to even think that a person wouldn't just, bow at the first results on November 8th. But again, give me that Easter Bunny stuff. The vote on the 8th doesn't select the president anyway. So it's hard to say a person should just jump and accept that, if that's not what it comes down to anyways. I mean, that's just tough reality. But inside of that is still the history of how it was designed. So is there a way through? Yes. But hey, if we're going to just believe that it would be easy, no. But it is possible. It is possible. You can join our conversation, 917-725-4241. We're here every night, 9 to midnight. It's Sidney Rhodes Show. Thank you for being here. Got your popcorn and your thinking caps, popcorn rate, thinking caps on. You can connect with us on Facebook, Sidney J. Rhodes Jr. Follow us Twitter at Sidney J. Rhodes Jr. Brought to you by Increased Solutions, developing yourself, your company, organization. Make things better. You're on the right road. Sidney Rhodes Show. We love having you here. It's a great night. It's definitely a good perspective. Good questions. Rhodes Show. Facebook, Sidney J. Rhodes Jr. Follow us at Sidney J. Rhodes Jr. Sidney Rhodes Show. You're on the right road. Sidney Rhodes Show. Glad you're enjoying yourself tonight. This is really nice. Great sounds. I wanted to just keep on playing it, huh? Wanted to keep on. And we gotta get back to business. Sidney Rhodes Show. I get some more nitty to the gritty. Now look, the question: who are these Hamilton electors? So for that, let's jump back. We gotta jump back into the article from the Atlantic. Okay, and when we started the program, and again, the program is on demand, so you can always check it out 24/7. It's even on iTunes. Go to your iTunes, search the Sidney Rhodes Show, boom, right there. You have it anywhere, anytime. You got it. It's good. You keep it rolling, right? Jump on the Facebook, boom, it's there. Twitter, boom. We'll keep it moving for you. It's going to be there. Good stuff. I'm glad you're here with us. Thank you for being here. So, okay, with that in mind, you look at the Hamilton electors, again, the Atlantic article. So, okay, let's read. The presidential election officially ends in December. Wow. You got it. You know what we were saying. Okay. The presidential election officially ends in December once the members vote. 2 want to convince their colleagues to withhold the White House from Donald Trump. 2 electors, get it? Although the presidential election was called for Donald Trump on the night of November 8th, it's not actually over until the 538 members of the Electoral College vote on December 19th. Now, remember, we started the program, I said I could just lay it out for you, but we wanted to talk about it. We wanted to get the different views. We wanted to kind of analyze a little bit, but I promise you it would be getting clear, and I hope that it has, it'd be getting clearer and clearer. But even though we get some knowledge, sometimes we find out more things we don't know, right? I mean, that's the joy of the journey. That's the joy of the voyage. But we're going to be strong and keep pushing through. We're going to stay on the right road. Sidney Rhodes Show. So dig it. November 8th, right? It's not actually over until the 538 members of the Electoral College vote on December 19th. In the weeks between now and then, 2 Democratic electors, 2 of the 538, are hoping to convince their colleagues to select someone other than Donald Trump for president. Now catch this new wrinkle out, right? You got another wrinkle, right? Listen. So Michael Baca of Colorado, he's an elector, and Brett, and I may not be pronouncing his name right, it's spelled Chiafalo, okay, of Washington State, call themselves the Hamilton electors. Now, that's a nod, according to the article, that's a nod to Alexander Hamilton's explanation of the Electoral College necessity. Now, I need my hookup here. Class is in session. A nod to Alexander Hamilton's explanation of the Electoral College necessity. The founding father, talking about Alexander Hamilton, and the first U.S. Treasury Secretary once said that the body exists, talking about the Electoral College, to ensure that the office of president will never fall to the lot of any man who is not in eminent degree endowed with the requisite qualifications. Sidney Rhodes will repeat. This is a quote from Alexander Hamilton, who was there, one of the founding fathers, quote unquote. He said the Electoral College exists, here's the quote, to ensure that the office of the president will never fall to the lot of any man who is not in an eminent degree endowed with the requisite qualifications. Now let me break away from the article and go back to our thought for a moment. I'm not saying I agree or disagree with President-elect Donald J. Trump or Secretary Clinton. I'm just making an argument now of thought. If the argument was from our current president and others that he was unfit, then that directly fits this presumed purpose for why November 8th doesn't decide. Alexander Hamilton himself is setting out the purpose why November 8th does not select the president. So that a person who is unfit, quote unquote, by our current, president, the language they use, cannot just become the president. Can you dig it? Sidney Rhodes Show, 917-725-4241. Let's keep reading. So, by Baca and the guy, Chiafalo, by their reckoning, the Electoral College exists to prevent a Trump presidency. This is what they're saying, theatlantic.com. Quote, we're trying to be the break in case of emergency fire hose that's gotten dusty over the last 200 years. This is an emergency. You digging it? So you already have 2 members of the 538 who are saying this is why it's even here. If we ain't going to use it now, then why have it? Sidney Rhodes Show. Sidney Rhodes Show, Facebook, Sidney J. Rhodes Jr. Follow us at Sidney J. Rhodes Jr. Sidney Rhodes Show. You're on the right road. Sidney Rhodes Show. Sidney Rhodes Show. We're so glad to have you here. All right. So, continue with the Atlantic argument here from the Atlantic.com. So, the two cats are trying to say, hey, this is what we got it for. This is the whole point. Break case of emergency, we got an emergency. This is their perspective. Okay. Continuing with the article. In every other presidential election in history, the members of the Electoral College have voted in accordance with the popular vote in their respective states. Because Trump has more electoral votes than Hillary Clinton does, 200... no, wait a minute. What we just read there has been contradicted by other things that we've read and history, right? Because we know for a fact that there have been some quirks in the game with the Electoral College. Okay, so take that with a grain of salt. Continuing, because Trump has more electoral votes than Hillary Clinton does, 290 to her 232, his December haul could translate to a win in December's election of the Electoral College, right? But Baca and the other guy argue that this isn't like every other election in history, and thus electors should feel empowered to break tradition. The college members come from all 50 states and Washington, D.C. The number of electors, and by the way, remember because we were talking about the faithless, right? The faithless electors. You know what I'm talking about. Okay, because we already covered that. But anyway, the college's members come from all 50 states and Washington, D.C. The number of electors a state has corresponds with the number of House and Senate members who represent it in Congress. And we already covered that, right? That's how we get our 538, because we've got our 435, right, from the Congress. And then you've got your 100 from the Senate, right? And then you've got 3 from D.C., 538. Okay. They say they're not pushing for Republican electors to all switch their allegiance to Clinton. All right? What they're saying, even though she's winning the popular vote nationwide, even as her electoral college count lags behind Trump's, instead they suggest a compromise candidate. How about this for another wrinkle? So now they're suggesting a compromise candidate, a Republican they find less objectionable than Trump, such as former Republican nominee Mitt Romney or Ohio Governor John Kasich. Though these options are just placeholders, they said it should be up to the Republican electors to pick a new standard bearer. So the dudes are not just going right at it and saying, okay, so we're going to lead this effort and call ourselves the Hamilton electors, a nod to Alexander Hamilton, and we're not just going to do that just for the sake of getting Clinton, but we're going to do it to say, give us a different candidate, make the Republicans use their vote to get a different candidate. Now, what's inherent in that we've been talking about in the Sidney Rhodes Show, that as weird as that sounds, inherently they know they could do it. And that's the end of the bunny. That's the end of Santa Claus. You see what I'm saying? So even if you didn't accept the argument to say, well, let's make sure it's Secretary Clinton that wins. Even if you just accepted these gentlemen's argument that, well, at least give us a different Republican, Mitt Romney, who may end up being Secretary of State in the next couple of days, or John Kasich from Ohio, who we know didn't endorse President-elect Donald J. Trump. Okay, so they're saying, well, at least we want our other comrades who are electors to at least get a compromise candidate. So again, what's inherent in that is they know that proves the point that these people, the 538, don't have to do nothing. They do not have to vote for a certain person. That's what makes this whole thing possible. And that's a lot of the reason why people don't want you to think about it. But it is what it is. Sidney Rhodes Show. Sidney Rhodes Show, Facebook, Sidney J. Rhodes Jr. Follow us at Sidney J. Rhodes Jr. Sidney Rhodes Show, you're on the right road. Sidney Rhodes Show.
Little by little, piece by piece, I take back what's been stolen from me. Little by little, piece by piece, until I'm complete. I got my eyes on you, and you got no clue what I'm supposed to do. I can't help myself. Little by little, piece by piece, I take back what's been stolen from me. Little by little, piece by piece, until I'm complete. No, you wouldn't take what's not yours. If you know who I am, when the night will fall, I'll haunt your dream. Little by little, piece by piece, I take back what's been stolen from me. Little by little, piece by piece, until I'm complete.
Sidney Rhodes Show, Facebook, Sidney J. Rhodes Jr. Follow us at Sidney J. Rhodes Jr. Sidney Rhodes Show, you're on the right road. Sidney Rhodes Show.
I used to have a job, but I got laid off. I used to have a wife, but she said she had enough. I used to have a car, but it got repossessed. It seemed the Lord had found someone he likes to test. I've lost all a man could lose, that's why I sing the blues. I used to have a home that burned to the ground. I used to have a dog, now there's nowhere to be found. I used to have money to buy what I need. Now the only thing I got is an alimony plea. Got nothing but bad news, that's why I sing the blues. Sister and a brother who won't pick up the phone. I used to have friends who listened to my plight. Now they all stay clear out of sight. Seemed all that remains is the news, that's why I sing the blues. Seems all that remains is the news, that's why I sing the blues. Seems all that remains is the news, that's why I sing the blues.
Sidney Rhodes Show. Facebook, Sidney J. Rhodes Jr. Follow us at Sidney J. Rhodes Jr. Sidney Rhodes Show. You're on the right road. Sidney Rhodes Show. Brother got the blues, man. Well, sing the blues. Hey, you having it rough. Dog. Yeah. It ain't easy. It ain't easy. Sidney Rhodes Show every night, 9 to midnight. Dog. Brother got the blues, yeah. That's all good. Yeah, okay, so wrapping up. We appreciate you being here. So, let's put it in context. If it comes out this way, it's we're looking at right now, this is from what I'm looking at, the 5th time in history, the 5th time that a person has lost becoming president, let's say it in that weird kind of cryptic way, even though they won the popular vote. So this is like the 5th time that it's happened. So there are a lot of remedies that people talk about as far as how votes are counted in the state and whether or not you'd have to have a constitutional convention in order to change these mechanisms, or if you could still kind of keep the same framework, but maybe have the states adjust how they're selecting and what they're saying the electors will be able to do and how they'll do it, and there may be a way to do it without a constitutional convention. There's actually initiatives out there on that. There are people who just want to go straight popular vote, and we've talked about before. There are challenges with that. Because hey, if you just win Florida and Texas, New York, and California, places like that, you well on your way. It's who's going to campaign in Vermont? So that's really tough to put a system together. But yet, if you don't have it where the popular vote is what's directly electing the leader of the country, then be careful about claiming to our babies that this is direct democracy. Go on and tell the truth. That's how I'm looking at it. And, it's a shame that people get to be 60, 75 years old in this country and still think that their particular vote, what they put in that election box or what they did, with the system, the computer in the booth, however your state or your county, however you ended up voting, believing that did it. That didn't do it, or else you'd be calling him President Trump right now. That didn't do it. There's still a process, quote unquote, checks and balances. So that's, and for better or worse, it may just be illuminating the fact that it's not really a direct democracy. It might just be a constitutional republic. It might be it might be a mixture of things. But at least if we can tell the truth, then we can do what we try to do in this program is push toward a more perfect union. Because if we at least acknowledge what's going on, then we can adjust and improve with a proper diagnosis what's really going on. But I will turn the other corner and say that even within the constitutional framework, you still have an argument that can be made to your current president. You got an argument that can be made to Secretary Clinton that if you all really believe that, and I'm not saying this is true, but if y'all really believe that the man is unfit, then there's an argument to be made that the founders put this in place for moments like this. So then stop shaking hands and saying you're going to wait and see and get on the grind and advocate for the people. Teach them. President Obama's constitutional law. Teach them and say, well, then go for it and have their back. Now, I'm not saying, and again, this is Sidney Rhodes Show. We put out these perspectives, not necessarily advocating that this, because again, that could end up in a mess. If you don't have that peaceful transition of power, if you don't have the Easter Bunny, if you don't have people believing in Santa Claus, it could be a whole lot of erratic behavior, and maybe that's what is going to happen with what they're doing right now. Maybe that's already what's going to happen, But again, don't be blindsided. Just like right now, it's the fact that we're not necessarily advocating for it, but just the fact that we're aware of it. And you can teach your own children so that if this does go bad, if I'm not trying to promote it, but if it goes bad, at least you won't be shocked. People start getting aware of what's going on. But there's another perspective here. There's still another perspective that might be even easier, and that is that if Jill Stein's movement here, and they've already got, like we said, $5 million plus bucks, and they already have the initiative, they've already put in the paperwork in Wisconsin. According to the reports, next week there's Michigan and Pennsylvania. So those two places, she's going to have the paperwork in, presumably, and those two places come next week. If they do happen to have a recount, and they do find that, especially in Michigan, with only 10,000 some odd votes, that Secretary Clinton will have to grant, it's possible that just straight up and down, you just say, well, hey, it was off, it was hacked, just like those emails or whatever, and she actually did win. And if that's the case, then maybe she will come out and say, well, right is right. Now I have to represent for the people of Michigan. I have to represent for the people of Pennsylvania. I have to represent for the people of Wisconsin. They really did vote for me, and I really have more in those states. It's not the 2 million that she has. We're not getting anywhere constitutionally by arguing about those 2 million, California and all that. We're not going to. That's not getting you anywhere constitutionally. But if you're able to show the electors that either this is what you're supposed to do as a stopgap because of being unfit, or if you're able to show that there was some hacking, etc., and there were some anomalies, and there were some glitches, and there were ballots that didn't get counted, and if you want to stick by the popular vote, if you choose to stick by the popular vote, then this is what it is. But they still don't have to. But the fact that they don't have to, take one more step, the fact that they don't have to is also why this could go the other way, where you could even have more people to go to President-elect Trump. The fact that you acknowledge that they can go either way, you can't just presume that they would all go to Secretary Clinton. So then is it a lost cause? I'm not, who am I to say if it's a lost cause? Because it could happen. It could happen. Because the 538 members on December 19th, I think it was December 9th, they can do what they want to do. So until they actually decide, they're human beings. They're human beings. Okay? So until they actually decide, and Article 2, Section 1, Clause 2 of the Constitution, from my understanding, these cats, they can't be senators and all of that. So these are just regular, let's just say, everyday citizens. You can't be, it's not like a governor or something like that, right? These are regular cats, quote unquote. You feel me? So, you can't be a senator and be a person that's voting in the Electoral College. So if you say, oh, well, we can really trust these people because they're up, they're this and they're that. No. It's a person just like you, bruh, sis. Right? Okay. So they can change their mind. And they may even feel like it's their responsibility to change their mind. It's a lot in the game. But it's Sidney Rhodes Show. And hey, I hope that you enjoyed, like I enjoyed, just going over some of this. But it's going to get interesting. It's already interesting. But I think it's good that we educate ourselves so we can have a more informed electorate, and that we can electorate, right? Yeah. So that at least when it comes to these national elections, that we can understand the process and then advocate for how to get the will of the people across, so that the people, like Mike T, when he called, was talking about concern for his family and his children, that those concerns can be addressed without thinking, well, because of what I did on Tuesday, November 8th, it's all done and said, that's it. Well, no, it's not over, right? So there is a path, and if she chooses to fight, if they continue to put this together, there is a chance. You might have to get some great salespeople. And one of the great salespersons of the is the president. Approval rating is high, and he can pull up the shirt sleeves, and he can sell it. So it's possible that people might even pull his coat and say, "Hey, man, stop all this transition talk, and let's get this overturned." It's not even overturned really, because it's not even, the vote hasn't taken place yet. So hey, advocate for them, advocate with us. That could be a battle cry, but it's a dangerous one. And obviously he thought about it, and he chose not to go that way. So it's an uphill battle, And this may be the safer route in one sense, and it may be a crucial response in another. So it's really hard to say. It's really hard to say. But at least we're thinking about it and we're talking about it. And I think that's a good point for the First Amendment, and that's a good point for future democracy, making things better. Much love to you. We'll see you again on demand. We're on demand. You can check out Facebook, and you can all the time, anytime. Twitter at Sidney J. Rhodes Jr. And also iTunes. Go to your search, put in the Sidney Rhodes Show. It'll be right there for you. You can leave messages for me. You can chat with me. Call in live any night, 917-725-4241. We love you. Keep your popcorn ready and your thinking caps on. Sidney Rhodes Show. We'll be back at you 9 p.m. tomorrow. Let's groove out, though. We got a little bit of groove left. Got to get some groove. Sidney Rhodes Show. Take care. Sidney Rhodes Show. Facebook, Sidney J. Rhodes Jr. Follow us at Sidney J. Rhodes Jr. Sidney Rhodes Show. You're on the right road. Sidney Rhodes Show. Show. Facebook, Sidney J. Rhodes Jr. Follow us at Sidney J. Rhodes Jr. Sidney Rhodes Show. You're on the right road. Sidney Rhodes Show.